Good day and welcome to a sample of St.Lo. St.Lo is a game that was published in 1986 by West End Games. Designer is Joseph Belkowski. The cover art might look a little bit dated, but the game system is fantastic. I got this off of eBay a couple of years ago, just brought it to the table, cracked open the rules. I really like how the rules are laid out, and they're very interesting too, with the designer notes as well as quotes from the commanders of the battle. St.Lo is a grand tactical simulation of American offense in the middle of July 1944. The objective is for the Americans to come in from the north and head south and punch into St.Lo, as well as the supply points, as you can see along the perimeter of the map. Each hex is 330 yards, and you can see the map is quite colorful, and it really displays well the different elevation types, where you can pick out the hills as well as the contour lines, and really makes determining observations of different units quite simple. The infantry counters represent battalions and companies. Other counters include the headquarters and assets, which are tanks and artillery pieces, as well as engineers. At the top, you can see the headquarters for the 1st Battalion of the 916th Regiment, belonging to the 352nd Division. Below that is the actual battalion marker for the 1st Battalion, and then the 3 counters below that can be broken down so they can reorganize the 1st Battalion and break it down into the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Company of that battalion. As well as that, if you only had 2 companies left and you wanted to reorganize them back into 1 battalion here, it flips over to its reduced sides. Below that are the 2 assets. The one asset there with the white line through it is a major asset, and the other is just the engineering asset. St.Lo uses activation of battalion headquarters to receive tactical action points to use on subordinate battalion or companies of that specific headquarter. On this sheet here, you can see that we have all the headquarters available for the German 352nd Division. Below that is the current rating of their morale. These counters all represent that if they're at full morale, they'd have a 7. But throughout the game, you'll see that the morale will drop, as well as you have opportunities to increase your morale. The tactical action points can be used for movement or different types of attacks, recovery, reorganization, and as well as entrenching. Die rolls compared to your morale also determine how many tactical action points you get, and as you spend them, you'll decrease the amount of points that you have left. Certain actions cost certain tactical action points. Here's a quick outline of the different phases throughout the game. Use a die roll to determine your weather. There is a possibility of reinforcements. You'll also determine the initiative for the Americans and the Germans. The operation phase, that you'll have the initiative segment. Then the operation, which is the heart of the game, where you actually move, fight, recover, reorganize, or entrench. As well as with your initiative, you win initiative for the Americans, they can have an airstrike if it's available, and then optional rules for counter battery fire, and then of course the ability to pass. And then to wrap up the turn, you have the recovery phase, as well as resetting your artillery pieces and resetting your headquarters as well to hopefully increase your morale per headquarter. The German initiative is set to -2. Both sides roll, the Americans and Germans both roll a die. The Germans roll a 2, the Americans roll a 1. But because of the Germans' -2 initiative, the Americans actually win the initiative for this phase. Americans decide to try to activate the 3rd Battalion of the 137th Regiment. And they roll a single die in which they roll the 1, which is fantastic because their current morale is 6. So that gives them 5 tactical action points. They're all fired up and they're ready to roll. The 3rd Battalion headquarter is now placed underneath the 3rd Battalion infantry marker. The Americans now decide to use 1 tactical action point to move this infantry marker. The headquarters stays in place. The infantry marker moves forward into spot in front of the German company, which is positioned inside of improved position. The Americans now decide to spend 2 more tactical action points, which will mark on the track here for a deliberate attack. They will now we determine armor superiority. The attacker picks first for what assets they'll add to the battle. The Americans decide to only add 1 major asset, which is their M10s, and it has an inherited value of 2 for their tank value. The Germans now have a chance to assign assets as well, and they decide to really beef up their defense here. They'll add 1 major and 1 minor, so the 75mm artillery as well as the 88 will be assigned to the battle. The 88 has an anti-tank value of 3. The 75mm has an anti-tank value of 5, as well as the company itself has inherited value of 2. So the Germans have a total of 10 for anti-tank value, and the Americans have a total of 2. We still roll a die for the attacker and defender. The Americans roll a 4, so they have an anti-tank, or they have a tank value of 6, where the Germans as well roll a 4, and so they have a 14 anti-tank value. You compare the results, the armor differential to the armor superiority chart. It is worse than -7, so the attacker will lose 2 armor assets. It looks like the Germans have smoked out the M10s. Now the infantry are definitely going to feel the effect of losing their major asset going into battle. Still a chance for the Americans to improve their odds. They have the opportunity to call on-call artillery with forward observers. This is easily done by expending 3 fire missions to give them a total of 3 times 2 for their support value here, giving them 6 that they can add to the. There is no elevation advantage here, so they'll just be adding 6 to their battalion combat strength, which is they're 15. So now they have a 21 combat strength. The Germans answer that with defensive artillery support as well, and they will spend 3 fire missions. So 1 times 3 is 3 added to their strength of 1, so giving them a total strength of 4. The Americans attack with 21 strength, and the Germans are defending with a 4 strength total. This is a 5-to-1 ratio. The attacker has a 0 modifier to the combat roll. This is defined by +1 for the attacker, spending 2 tactical action points for a deliberate attack, as well as a -1 for the defenders being in an improved position. Previously, the anti-tank guns negated the armor superiority, so this levels out to a 0 modified roll. The attackers roll a 2 on the 5-to-1 odds table, very unfortunate, in the hedge roll column. The result is that the American lead company of the 3rd Battalion is badly mauled. The 3rd Battalion is flipped over to its reduced side. The German company sighs in relief as their thin line holds. The American XO is furious. He quickly regroups the companies and secures more assets for another push. The Americans will spend their last two actual tactical action points for another deliberate attack. For the American second deliberate attack, they have decided to commit 3 more assets. 2 are the 2 major assets and 1 minor assets. The M4s have a armor value of 5, and the M8 has an armor value of 1. So with the Americans' die roll as well, they have a total of 16 armor value. The Germans still have their major and minor assets available to them, so they are using the 75mm and the 88s. And with their die roll, they have a total of 12. When compared to the armor superiority chart, it gives the Americans a +2 to their die roll and their final combat value. The 3rd Battalion will also use 3 more fire missions for on-call artillery as they do their assault. So they'll spend their 1, 2, 3. They'll get 6 more combat strength added to their combat value of 11 that their reduced battalion is currently at. And as well as the Germans only have 1 more fire mission, and they will spend that. So they can only add 1 to their already 1 combat value, which gives them 2. So the ratio for combat strength is 8-to-1 for the Americans. We go to the combat result table. So the Americans will get a +1 because they went with a deliberate attack. They'll also get a +2 because their attacker's armor superiority. But there is a -1 because the Germans are in an improved position. So that levels out to a +2 to the Americans' die roll, which is a 4. So altogether they have a value of 6 on the 8-to-1 hedgerow column table there. So that is a D4. So a defender loses 4 steps. Well, the Germans just don't have that to absorb. So if we head over to the map here, there is no reduced side to this. They are eliminated. The badly battered reduced battalion here is gets to advance into that hex, and as well as these are removed just from the map for now. They do have an opportunity to come back in on later turns, and the assets stay with this battalion until they are reassigned, which can be done in next turn, the beginning of next turn. So now I take the 3rd Battalion headquarters from the map and I put it back onto the U.S. Division display sheet. I flip it over to the activated side, as well as if I'm simulating the first turn, their morale is reduced by 2, so their new morale has dropped from 6 down to a 4. So next time that I want to activate them this round anyways, I would have to roll less than a 4. So if I were to roll a 2, now they only receive 2 tactical action points. If I rolled a 5 to try to activate them again, it's trying to activate them. Their morale still reduces 1 more now down to a 3, and it just makes it harder to activate them. In the headquarter recovery phase as well, they only increase their morale, and it can't be above their original morale, but you can only increase their morale by 2 if they're not activated. St.Lo is a really good game. I really enjoy it. I've only played it solitaire, but the mechanics of it, the narrative of it, everything that it presents for me is what I look for when I'm playing a solitaire game. Anyway, so I would eventually like to try it face-to-face someday with one of my friends, but right now I just set it up, played it solitaire. The rule book's really well laid out. It is 30 pages long, but that includes historical notes, that includes there's a glossary, and at the end of it, it's an easy read. It's easy to reference a rule that you're looking for. I like the assets in this. It's fun. It's challenging. You have a limited amount of assets available for each division. So do you bring them out now? Do you bring them out later? Do you hold on to some? Do you reassign some? So when you reassign some, you take them out of battle or off the map, and it takes a couple turns for them to be available again to reassign to a different battalion. It's the fire missions. You're like, do I hold on to this? Do I do a barrage? How much do I put into trying to gain the initiative at the beginning of the turn? When do I do defensive fire? Is this the hill that I want to die on? That comes to light all the time. You're always making those decisions. So it's I really enjoy it. I don't think my review is doing it justice, but if you have a chance to check it out or pick it up for real cheap, do it. It's well worth it. If it's sitting on your shelf, get it off the shelf, get it onto your table, play it. And if somebody else is willing to do a better review, please do, because I think this game is worth it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for living through the shaky video syndrome. And St.Lo, I enjoy it.